Guys, welcome into my official college football upset alert for week number 4. These are teams I could see getting upset here for college football. The first team, it's Washington. Guys, this has all the makings of an absolute upset. Washington, they started the season unranked. Everyone thought they were kind of mediocre. They destroy Michigan State. They're on a high horse. Everyone loves them. Guys, that was an emotional win they had last week. This week, nobody's talking about them. This is a 10:30 game against the Stanford team that's a little bit underrated. We know Stanford lost to USC, but their offense has shown some signs of coming to life. I could see this being a David Shaw special. I understand he hasn't, had the greatest of teams the past 3 or 4 years. Actually, I think they've had losing records the past 3 or 4 years. I'm not saying Stanford is this world beater, but I'm seeing a scenario where Washington, young team, emotional win last week, maybe a little letdown game at home. Washington on upset alert. They are right around 12.5-point favorites. I don't know if that line has moved at all. I haven't checked it, but they were 12.5-point favorites, and I love the under in this game, guys. So the over-under was opened at 61. It got bet up to 63. I love the under. I love Washington after the emotional victory they had last week. People maybe overrating them a little bit. Because Michigan State, in my opinion, is probably going to lose 4, maybe 5 games. Could you imagine Michigan State, goes 7-5 this year? I see them playing a very close game this week. The next one, this one I really wouldn't classify as an upset, but Iowa State is, at this point, 3-point favorites, I believe. I have Baylor winning this game 26-17. Both of these teams, in terms of talent, seem pretty evenly matched, but I just trust Baylor football more. And also, it's like, who has Iowa State beaten this year? I mean, Iowa State was supposed to be this top 10 team last year. They lay an egg. They, I think, lost 2 out of their first 3 games. Very disappointing season with Breece Hall. And then this year, I'm just not buying it. I think Baylor, even though they lost to BYU, and that loss looks a little bit worse now considering BYU got crushed by Oregon, I still just trust Baylor more. I think they get the win on the road in the noon window, 26-17. The next game, guys, this is more of me just hoping that Washington State can win this game. It would be great for the Pac-12, and it would be great for Washington State, and really great for all of us if they won this football game at home. They are currently touchdown underdogs. Oregon having one of the weirdest seasons ever. It looked like they didn't have a pulse in week 1. Then they come out week 3 and crush BYU at home. It would be really good to see Washington State win this game. I believe this is a 4 o'clock game on Fox, I want to say. We will see. Cameron Ward is definitely a fun quarterback. Oregon, I will say, is very talented on the defense, and they've got a veteran QB in Bo Nix. Of course, the major issue with this is if Oregon keeps winning, it's just going to make Georgia look even better and better and better, because we had the situation where Georgia annihilates Oregon in week 1. Everyone thinks Oregon sucks. Then Oregon crushes BYU in week 3. So now everyone thinks, well, Georgia's just 20 times better than everyone else. That's kind of where we're at. That's why we need Washington State to win this game. The next one, I see Clemson winning this game, but guys, I am not buying Clemson football this year at all. I still think their offense is broken. The major problem I'm having with Wake Forest is they're completely one-dimensional, and Clemson's defense is so talented, you can't be one-dimensional. Wake Forest cannot run the ball. And the issue for Sam Hartman is when, you are one-dimensional and you're facing an elite defense, they're going to pin their ears back. They're going to rush you. Sam Hartman might turn the ball over a few times. He's going to get pressured consistently. This is going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. Again, to me, Clemson is due to get upset just because their offense in terms of college football is very, very underwhelming. They've got talent, but actually I think Clemson's receivers this year are underwhelming, kind of similar to Alabama. They do have a really good running back, former 5-star, who's in his second year, Will Shipley, kind of an all-purpose back. They need to use him out of the backfield, catching short passes on third down, in my opinion. But in this game, I'm just not buying Clemson. I do think they win this one because Wake Forest probably shouldn't even be ranked because they're so one-dimensional and they haven't beaten anyone. Wake Forest was an extra point away from going to overtime with Liberty last week. Liberty tried to go for 2 to go for the win. They didn't get it, so Wake won by 1 point. Otherwise, they would have been in overtime with Liberty. That's just a little bit of backstory on Wake Forest, and that's with Sam Hartman. The next game, Arizona over Cal. So this game, I think, was just set wrong from the beginning. They had California as a 5-point favorite. It immediately went down to 3. And the line has kind of, been stagnant at 3 for the past few days. But Arizona, I just think, is a better team. They've got a better offense. They've got that transfer QB from Washington State. Maybe a little overreaction by Vegas to Cal almost beating Notre Dame. Personally, I don't put much stock into that at all. Number 1, Cal lost the game. And number 2, Notre Dame lost to Marshall. And then Marshall lost to Bowling Green. So this is a situation where I just think Arizona is better. I believe Arizona beat North Dakota State, which is actually a pretty impressive win. They won by 3 at home last week, and I have them beating California on the road straight up. This game, I just got a weird feeling about it personally. FAU at Purdue. I think Purdue wins it, but I love the over. FAU cannot defend anyone. All Purdue does is throw. They've got a veteran QB who throws for like 400 yards a game. The over 61.5 or whatever it is setting up great. And I don't know. It's a 7:30 game. I just have a weird feeling that this is going to be a closer game. I'm surprised the spread is all the way out to Purdue minus 20. I understand FAU without Lane Kiffin is kind of a dumpster fire. But still, they've been able to put points on the board. I think it's going to be a closer, high-scoring game with Purdue winning. Obviously, the Big Ten needs Purdue, especially the Big Ten West. This is a huge week for the Big Ten West. The Big Ten West, you need Minnesota to beat Michigan State, and you need, obviously, Purdue to beat FAU. If FAU somehow wins this game and Michigan State beats Minnesota, the Big Ten West Rutgers beats Iowa. I don't think that's going to, who knows with Iowa? I mean, it's tough to take Iowa seriously. They've turned themselves into a meme. I mean, I like it. It's funny to see the low scores and stuff like that, but it's like, I think Iowa faces Michigan next week. Facing Iowa would be annoying. I will say that. It's like you're not going to lose, but they do have a good defense, and they're basically just trying to run the clock down and keep the game close and then hope for something fluky in the fourth quarter. Like, that's what Iowa's game plan against Michigan is going to be. That would be horrible facing a team like that. Ohio State also faces Iowa, but Ohio State's at home. Michigan has to travel to Iowa, and I can almost assure you, I guess we'll see if Iowa beats Rutgers, because if Rutgers beats Iowa, I don't think they would put that Michigan-Iowa game on Big Noon because Iowa would just be too bad. But if Iowa beats Rutgers, that Michigan-Iowa game next week, in my opinion, will be the Big Noon game. If not, I could see that game maybe being on FS1. Guys, I don't even know what I'm talking about. We're just going to get back to this. So FAU, higher scoring game. I just get that vibe with this one. FAU, horrible on defense. Purdue throws the ball 100 times. And then this one, this is just something I was told about. If you look at the Fordham Rams schedule and their first, I believe, 3 games this year, this is an FCS team. They've played 3 really close games, and they've all been ridiculously high scoring. So I think whatever the over-under for this game is, it's a lot to go over. And then there are a lot of people on Fordham covering whatever the spread is, because it's an FCS versus FBS. There's different spreads. It's like 13 or 14. This is just something all of the experts are in on. I wanted to talk about it really quickly. Other games, I guess I can quickly kind of look at, could there be an upset? So Texas Tech, it's tough to really predict for the University of Texas right now without Quinn Ewers. Florida at Tennessee, I think Tennessee wins that game. Florida with Anthony Richardson, who knows? I love the over in that game, but I just have no faith in Anthony Richardson. He's so inconsistent. SMU to TCU should be fun. That's a big game for the Big 12. The Big 12 needs TCU to win that game. That would be really good for their conference. And I believe that's pretty much it. Maryland at Michigan. I mean, I think Michigan's going to win, but we really don't know how good Michigan is. I think people are probably overrating Michigan's defense a little bit because it's a unique situation where Michigan is facing literally no one, and I'm not trying to exaggerate it. Like, these teams that Michigan was facing are so bad. Like Toledo would beat Hawaii 63-6. Like, that's how bad Hawaii is. So we don't know about Michigan, but I suspect their defense is worse than what most people think it is because they lost 2 elite pass rushers and Daxton Hill. And people are just kind of thinking the Michigan defense is still good when really we don't know. They haven't faced anyone. It's like they're facing FCS teams. It's impossible to judge these opponents. Even Colorado State might be the worst. Well, I mean, I guess they can't be the worst Mountain West team because there are a few really bad Mountain West teams this year. But guys, that is just going to do it for my upset picks. An interesting game. How about Notre Dame at North Carolina? UNC listed as 1.5-point favorites. I would not touch that game with a 10-foot pole. But honestly, I'd probably pick, I don't know, honestly. North Carolina has a horrible, horrible, horrible defense. Notre Dame has a horrible, horrible, horrible offense. You be the judge of that. Try and solve that science experiment. That's like me going back to, what was that? Chemistry. Guys, I could never do chemistry. My brain was just not wired that way. I never understood it. I was just sitting in the lab. I was just like, I can't do it, legitimately. Like, my brain is just, I cannot do chemistry. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like they're talking in Chinese to me. Like, I'm just like, whatever. And that class got so bad, the chemistry class, I started skipping when the tests were, and my teacher just gave me exempts. You know when you have a test and you don't get 0 out of 100, you get like the dash out of 100, meaning it doesn't go in at all. So I got exempted. I don't know how. All I did was skip the tests and they exempted me. They were like, whatever. I mean, I'm not showing up to this. I'm not going to get a good grade. I just couldn't understand chemistry, folks. I don't know what it was. We've got, imagine Sacramento State beats Colorado State. Oh my God. The FPI gives Colorado State a 59%, that's how bad Colorado State is, 59% chance to beat Sacramento State. Sacramento State is 2-0. They beat Utah Tech. Guys, Utah Tech does not sound like a real university. I refuse to believe that Utah Tech is a real existing university. It sounds made up. It sounds like Ohio Tech. Imagine if there was an Ohio Tech. Oh, that'd be funny. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.